That chrome hexagonal grille and performance body kit have no business being on a 3-row family SUV, and yet, GMC put them there because this Yukon XL Denali was never intended to be a family hauler. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the Yukon XL Denali in this specification isn't competing with the Expedition Max or the Navigator L, it's competing with the Escalade ESV. From inside the same company, there's one interior engineering decision in this cabin that no American full-size SUV has delivered at the factory level. I'll get there. Is $120,000 justifiable for a Yukon? My take is going to be more considered than you're expecting. We're covering the cabin, the exterior architecture, and the powertrain. And the origin of this particular configuration. That didn't come from a family vehicle product brief. Here's what stands out immediately, and it's not the body kit, and it's not the quad exhaust, it's the magnetic ride control suspension. Magnetic ride control uses magnetorheological fluid inside each damper, a fluid whose viscosity changes in milliseconds when an electrical current passes through it. At 1,000 adjustments per second, the system reads road surface input at each corner independently, and stiffens or softens the damper faster than any mechanical valve can respond. On a vehicle with a 130-inch wheelbase carrying up to 8 passengers, that damping speed matters enormously. The longer the wheelbase, the more dramatically body motion compounds through the rear. MRC arrests that motion before it builds. No Lincoln Navigator L at any trim level ships with magnetorheological damping. The Expedition Max doesn't offer it. This is the only American full-size 3-row SUV where you can genuinely call the suspension architecture a performance system. Speculative tech number 1. A road surface preview layer added to the MRC system. Forward-facing LiDAR reads pavement texture 20 feet ahead and presets damper stiffness per corner before the wheel contacts the surface. Reactive MRC is already exceptional. Predictive MRC closes the remaining gap entirely. The suspension defines the driving experience. The cabin defines who this truck was actually built for. Step inside, and the first thing that recalibrates your expectations is the seat surface. Full-width diamond-quilted leather in cream ivory with navy contrast piping. And this isn't soft-touch synthetic quilting. The stitch depth and panel tension are consistent across the full seat face, which tells you the leather was pre-stretched over a dimensional form before stitching, rather than quilted flat and then shaped. That process costs significantly more to execute correctly. It's why the seat reads as genuinely premium rather than premium adjacent. For anyone who's spent time in a Range Rover long wheelbase or a Lexus LX 700H at comparable money, this cabin holds its own at eye level. The panoramic display system spans nearly the full dashboard width in 3 discrete zones: digital instruments left, central infotainment center, navigation right. Each zone operates independently with its own touch layer. The woodgrain accent rail running the full width below the screens isn't decorative banding. It's a structural fascia trim that carries the air distribution channel behind it, eliminating the conventional vent housing that typically interrupts a clean dash surface. It's an architecture that Cadillac used to own exclusively. Not anymore. Speculative tech number 2. Passenger biometric climate management. Pressure and temperature sensors embedded in each seat cushion, reading body heat and microperspiration patterns, then autonomously adjusting individual zone temperatures without manual input. The engineering case is straightforward. Occupants set a comfort temperature once, and the system maintains thermal equilibrium through the journey, not just at the vent. Mercedes S-Class uses a version of this in the rear compartment. Front-to-rear coverage across all 3 rows would be a first in this segment. Where I think they've missed the mark, the 3rd row climate controls. For a cabin at this specification level, rear passengers in the 3rd row still manage their temperature from a panel that isn't within natural arm reach. At $120,000, that's an ergonomic oversight the Lincoln Navigator L doesn't make. The argument for a specific buyer with a specific lifestyle. But the backstory of why this configuration exists, that changes the context of everything you've just seen. It's coming. Here's what I'm hearing. This Denali configuration purportedly originated as an executive transport evaluation brief, not a consumer vehicle program. The sport body architecture, the performance suspension, the rear cabin screen system, those decisions didn't come from a family road trip product planner. The exterior section is where that intent becomes most visible. Start at the front. That chrome hexagonal mesh grille opening is significantly wider than the standard Yukon XL Denali's aperture, engineered to move greater airflow volume to the intercooler and transmission cooler under sustained highway load with a full passenger and cargo complement. The performance front splitter extending below the bumper line isn't a styling exercise. It generates measurable front-end downforce above 65 miles per hour, reducing front axle lift on a vehicle with a 225-inch overall length and a high center of gravity. That's aerodynamic engineering applied to a family SUV. It's the right decision. The side skirts carry the lower body visual weight down toward the 22-inch dark multi-spoke wheels, which are sized for high-speed stability rather than off-road clearance, confirming this Denali's intended operating environment. Wheelbase runs 130 inches on the XL platform. Ground clearance sits at approximately 8.4 inches with the standard air suspension in its normal ride height position. This design holds because the functional elements, the grille airflow geometry, the front splitter, the wheel sizing, are engineering decisions baked into the body architecture. A refresh cycle adjusts details, it doesn't alter load paths. But aerodynamics and suspension are only part of the picture. Under the hood, the 6.2-liter Ecotec 3 V8, 420 horsepower, 460 foot-pounds of torque through a 10-speed automatic. At highway speed with 7 passengers and luggage, that torque figure means confident passing without the transmission hunting for a lower gear. For anyone who's driven a Navigator L with the twin-turbo V6, 440 horsepower sounds better on paper, but the Ecotec V8's torque curve is flatter and more linear above 4,000 RPM, which is where real overtaking happens. Speculative tech number 3. Predictive torque vectoring via GPS cornering data. The system reads mapped curve geometry up to 5 seconds ahead and pre-positions rear-wheel torque split before turn-in begins. On a 225-inch SUV, the difference between reactive and predictive rear torque distribution is the difference between a vehicle that feels its size and one that doesn't. That's the distinction this system would deliver. Against the Lincoln Navigator L at $105,000 to $115,000, the Yukon XL Denali matches or exceeds on powertrain refinement and suspension sophistication, and the interior specification in this configuration competes directly. The Navigator's twin-turbo advantage is real in the low RPM range. The Denali's MRC advantage is real everywhere else. The engineering picture is complete. Now, the financial picture needs to hold up. Now, here's what I actually think. Completely straightforward. The executive transport origin of this brief explains every decision that seems like overreach on a family SUV. The sport body, predictive suspension, the rear cabin screens. This vehicle wasn't over-engineered. It was engineered for a different primary use case than the one it's being sold into. Pricing. The Yukon XL Denali in this specification lands between $108,000 and $122,000, depending on packages and options. Real-world context, a fully loaded Lincoln Navigator L runs $110,000 to $118,000 and gives you comparable 3-row passenger space and a capable powertrain, but no magnetorheological suspension, no performance body architecture, and a cabin that doesn't carry the quilted leather specification or the panoramic display width at any equivalent price point. A Cadillac Escalade ESV starts at $115,000, and that's the comparison that actually matters, because you're buying a Yukon XL Denali instead of an Escalade ESV, not instead of a Navigator. On depreciation, Denali-grade Yukon XLs with strong option packages have historically held residual value better than standard trim full-size SUVs. If you're trading in a current Yukon XL SLT or stepping down from an Escalade ESV, the 5-year depreciation curve on a fully loaded Denali is considerably better than the sticker shock suggests. Here's the call. If you need genuine 3-row passenger capacity, want a cabin that competes with European luxury SUVs on material quality, and value a suspension system that no American competitor in this segment offers, this is the strongest factory integrated option right now. If maximum towing capacity is your primary metric, the standard Yukon XL Denali at $85,000 gives you the same drivetrain for significantly less. The sport configuration earns its premium through precision and presence, not through tow ratings. At the open, I said that chrome grille and sport kit had no business on a family hauler. Having walked the full picture, they make complete sense on an executive transport platform wearing family SUV packaging. That's exactly what this is. I genuinely love your perspective, especially if you've owned a Yukon XL Denali or cross-shopped it against a Navigator L or Escalade ESV. Drop it below. Yukon XL Denali versus the Cadillac Escalade ESV. That comparison is next. Subscribe if this kind of analysis is what you're here for. See you then.